committee when the Scientific Committee received to extend the contract on the and the committee members this is the kind of ship that brought mostly 1792 not the Indigo's by him Allahabad 1765. Awad was the United Protector study deputies under the subsidy Robert Cliff. The states of the development of subsidiary lands. States on the East Indian Company that was different between the states. The states to East Indian Company acts more to the supply amount from the native state. Now only the money is given to East Indian Company. The soldier of the East Indian Company will the fight. State 3. The subsidiary forces under the resident territory was given to East Indian Company to meet the expenses. According to the theory, East Indian Company was the assembly responsible for the native state from internal and external danger for it. The British would set up the East Indian Army in a princely state. For the maintenance of the army, the British were allotted some territory were uh, given right to the current revenue Lagan. The convention of the subsidiary alliance. Native tribes were that disbanded. Ordinance of the British Cross is to be consented that so for it allowing the foreign right to occupy the few areas. All the foreigners are to be removed from the service of the state. They surrender to the foreign employer and the refuse. The British resident will be the standard in the capital, it will not interference in the internal affairs. Although the sovereignty of the Indian state was gone, all the foreign treaties were now made by the Britishers for the behalf of the Indian state and they signed the subsidiary alliance. Awadh 1761 Mysore 1799 and Peshawar of Marathas 1802. Then the meaning between the state which are guns, commercial and the second million. The doctrine of lapse. These were then introduced by the Lord Dalhouse 1848 to 1856. According to it, the absence of the real the Indian state that was the dependent on the British would be the merged into the British India. That means the act of the transfer would not be the able to the inherit the throne. It was the apply on the Satras 1848 and the Tipur and the Sambalpur 1849 and the Bhagwat 1850 and Udaipur 1852 and Jhansi 1854, Nagpur 1800 and the Bhagwat and Udaipur were the given as the Indian state. Overheld by the 1860, the Dalhousie expanded the British Empire to the maximum case more or less. The remained the British territory till the independence. Thus, the Dalhousie is considered the map of the modern India. Apart from the military action to the equal more and the more the territories the epic the East Indian Company also the developed the political administration to the considered the British Empire. Development of administration the states happened in two phases. Direct rule by the East Indian Company and the British rule by the British Crown. 1850 to 1959. Direct rule by the East Indian Company 1772 to 1857. Background of the political control of East Indian Company. Started to the East Indian Company located in the east of Queen 1600. Battle of Buxar 1764. East Indian Company got the Diwani right dual government. Direct control taken by the East Indian Company in 1772 due to the misgovernance in Bengal. The East Indian Company was the control through the series of the Charter Act passed by the British Parliament. Regulating Act 1773. The reason the corruption amongst the servants of the East Indian Company. East Indian Company making the significant loss and the official making profit. The East Indian Company applied for a loan of 1 million pounds in 1772. Thus the Parliament regulated East Indian through the Charter Act. Governor of the Bengal made the Governor of the General of Bengal. Four-member Executive Council met to the President. It made the Governor of Madras and Bombay Presidency subordinate to Governor General of Bengal. The Court of the Director was set up to the record revenue and military affairs of India through the British Parliament. The Supreme Court was set up in the Calcutta in 1774. Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of Bengal. Warren Hastings, first Governor General of Bengal. Main reason behind this is the act the rising of the voters' qualification in the England. The public opinion against the company gathered momentum in England. Peace Indian Act 1784. It is the separate the commercial function of the company for the political function. It allowed the court of the directors to manage the commercial affairs but created it a separate body for the board of the control to the manage the political affairs. Sutter Act 1813. East Indian Company's monopoly abolished except tea and the trade with China. Christian missionaries were allowed to the propagate Christianity in India. With the sum of the rest, 1 lakh was set aside for the promotion of the education. Sutter Act 1833. The Governor General of Bengal became as the Governor General of India William Bentinck, the first Governor General of India. First Governor General of India William Bentinck. Beginning of the central legislative for the Indian as the Act 2, the legislative power of the Bombay and the Madras province. Sutter Act 1853. The legislative and the executive function of the Governor General Council were the separate. As about the additional 6 members in the Central Legislative Council, 4 of 6 members were appointed by the provincial government of the Madras, Bombay, Bengal, and Agra. It introduced the system of the open competition as the basis of the recruitment of the civil servant of the company on the recommendation of MC Colley Committee. The Act enacted the activities of the East Indian Company as a commercial body and it became a purely administrative body. Then the revolt of 1857 took place. After it, the Crown assigned power to the administration of Indian directly. Agriculture revenue policy British India. Along with the administrative system, the British also imposed over the land revenue system to the maximize India revenue. There are mainly three types of revenue system: permanent settlement. The permanent was introduced by the Lord Cornwall, Cornwallis in 1793 with the help of the Sergeant Shore. It was an agreement between the British East India Company and the landlords to settle the land revenue. The landlords were given title of the ownership since the revenue to be paid to the Britishers were the fixed the zamindars tried to collect more and more tax from the peasant. This made by the condition of the peasant the miserable. It was the implement in the province of Bihar, Bengal, Odisha. Total tax collect was divided into the 11 part, but 10 by 11 belonged to the British, when the 1 by 11 belonged to the Zamindar. Land of the Zamindar was the economist if he was not able to pay the revenue aims. To ensure a regular income for the company, reduce the scope of corruption. Zamindars were expected to invest in the land improvement, administrative convenience, the loyalty of the Zamindars result. The peasant lost the occupation right, burden of over the administration on the peasant exploitation because of the sub-infeudation. Zamindar lost land under the sunset law. Zamindars are not the interest in the investment. Riotary system. The riotary system was introduced by the Thomas Munro in 1802. The major areas of the introduction included Madras, Bombay, part of the Assam, and the Kuru provinces of the British India. In the riotary system, the ownership's right was handed over the peasant. The British government collected tax directly from the peasant, and ownership to the peasant will improve their condition. The authority to the state will increase. Great revenue income. Result: excessive rate of the revenue made the agriculture unremunerative. The method of the collection was very harsh. Gave birth to the classes of the moneylender. The estimate was the faculty, and the estimate of the produce was the wrong focus system. There was no provision for and the appeal to the court of law against overacting assignment. Mahalwari system. The Mahalwari system was introduced by the Holt Mackenzie in 1822 and the review under the William Bentinck in 1833 and developed for entire Agra, Punjab, North-West for entire Agra, Punjab. It was introduced in the central provision North-West for entire Agra, Punjab, Gangetic Valley, Estra of the British India. The Maholari system had a mixed provision of both the permanent settlement system and the rotary system. In this the system, the land was divided into the mahals. Each mahal the comprises one or more village ownership's right were the best with the peasant, but the village community headed by the village hetman was held responsible for the collection of the taxes. By 1857, the British East Indian Company was successful in the setting up and all the Indian Empire with the large territorial control and the broad administrative infrastructure. There, the journey from either theatre to and the empire can be traced from the following diagram. Royal Sutter, and led to set up the East Indian Company. First factory at Surat 1613. Carnatic was 1746 to 63. East Indian Company the only the major European power in India. Battle of Places 1757. Battle of Buxar 1764. A Diwani right rule system in Bengal. Till now the focus only on economy scale. SM Dairy rule in Bengal 1772. Accurate more the Istator wars were the Mysore Maratha Six Sutter Act 1813 in of the monopoly. No more focus on the acquiring more and the more the territorial circle of the inclusive policy like the subsidiary alliance and the doctrine labs. All India Empire by the 1857 revolt of 1857. Any revolt is like as a fire for as a fire revolt to the erupt. There is the need of the few prevailing causes and the laughter triggering event. Fuel. Prevailing the causes of the revolt of 1857. Economical causes. All, almost all the classes were the suffering economical. The prison the class due to the high tax collection under the permanent settlement. Uh, Artisan and handicraftsmen from 1813 to 1857. India was being the systematically mapped as a colony, the export of the raw materials at low cost and the import of the finished good for the Britain without paying import duty. This led to destruction of the cottage industry. Zamindars. Under the permanent settlement, the Zamindaris had to pay a certain amount of the tax to the company irrespective of their own revenue. If they could not pay the amount, they were evicted from their land. Political causes. The political like the doctrine of less subsidiary alliance had the infuriated those the princes whose state was the annexed. It also made other Indian state substitution of the British. Administrative causes. Rampant corruption in British official attempt of the Christian missionaries to the convert the tribal in the name of the education social religions reform like the abolition of the sati window remarriage and the remarriage had the antipodes of the local population in each of the simply the skills and process of the British in the first Afghan war attended the date of the Crimean Wars. Attended the Santa Revolution 1857 is on the authority physiological representation discounted among support. The commission of the service in the company army had contributed increasing time into the conflict with the religious belief and the prejudice of the separate distribution of the warring classes and sectarian marks on the sectarian revolts of the presiding had met the suspicion the Indian civil was the equality unhappy with his movement compared to the British contemporary. They were also the basically discriminated against the lighter, the targeting event, the introduction of the inflict rifle, the carting. Cartiget of the new the rifle had to be the beaten of before the loading and the aggressor was a revolution of the beef and pig fat. This that triggered the revolt in March 1857. The sepoy of the 34th Natives Infantry, the Mongol Pandey, uh, when asked to use the cartridges, the fire at the sergeant major of his the unit at the breakpoint. He was the overpowered and the executed on April 6 in the Mirat on 9th May when the about 85 soldiers refused to use the cartridges. They were the imprisoned. On 10th May, the imprisoned the soldiers were set free by follow the soldiers killed their officer. The soldiers went to Delhi and declared called the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar as the Emperor of India. This was the official beginning of the revolt. Delhi became the center of the Great Revolt and Bahadur Shah. It is the symbol the Bahadur Shah wrote letter to all the chiefs and the rulers of India arguing them to the or, uh, organize the confederacy of the Indian state to the fight and the replace the British regime. The Indian the Bengal army soon rose in the revolt which the speed quickly Awad Rohikant, the Dog, the Bandulkhan, Central India, large part of Bihar and East Punjab shock of the British authority. The revolt of the Sipahi was accompanied by the revolution of the civil population according to one the estimate of the total number of about 1,50,000 men who died fighting the English in Awadh of the 1 lakh were civilians. Center of the revolt. Center of the revolt. There were six main centers of the revolt in this region, namely Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Bareilly, and Jhansi, Gwalior, and the Ara in Bihar, Delhi. Here the revolt was led by the General Wakhat Khan in the name of the Mughal Emperor the Bahadur Shah. Emperor the Bahadur Shah too was arrested and deported to the Rangoon, where he died in 1862. Thus, the great house of the Mughals was finally and completely extinguished. Lucknow. The Lucknow was the capital of Awadh. There, there the mutineers, the Sipahi were joined by the disbanded the soldiers from the old Awadh army, Begum Hazrat Mahal, and her son the Biris Kadir led to the revolt in Lucknow. Begum Hazrat Mahal escaped to Nepal. Kanpur. The Kanpur of the revolt was led by the Nana Sahib, the adopted son of the Peshwa Bajirao II. He joined the revolt primarily because he was the relative on his the passions by the British. He was the assisted by his the commander Tantia Tops, led on the Nana Sahib escaped to Nepal. Tantia Tops was the captured and executed. Sanjay. In the Sanjay Rani Lakshmi Bai led the rebels when the British refused to accept the claim of her the adoption to the throne of Jhansi. Rani Lakshmi Bai died the soldier dead on 7 June 1858. Bareilly. He- Here, the revolt was led by the Khan Bahadur. Bihar. In the Bihar, the revolt was led by the Kanwar Singh. He has the landlord of Ara, Bihar. Kaur Singh is the 100 and the died on 26 April 1854, 1858. The constitutional pillar of the revolt. The Indian soldiers were the poorly equipment materially. The revolt limited to the central and the north India. No coordination among the leaders of revolt. There was no all Indian causes for the revolt. All leaders were fighting for their own causes. The some big zamindars and rulers like the Sasindhya supported the Britishers. But during the entire revolt, there was the complete corruption between the Hindus and Muslims at all the levels. People, the soldier, all the levels, the acknowledged Bahadur Shah Zafar as a Muslim as the emperor. After the revolt of 1857, the power was transferred from the East Indian Company to the British Crown through the government of Indian as in 1858. So in the 1858, company ruled the Indian in Indian and the crown rule began.